It is 4 o'clock. I will call to order this meeting. Please stand to sing our national anthem. Please be seated. We'll start with the roll call.
Mayor Sue Patterson.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert.
Present.
Councillor Harold Vliet.
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking.
Present.
Councillor Carol Hudson.
Present.
Councillor Brandon Cable.
Present.
And Councillor Susan Sackle has sent her regrets.
Thank you, Vicki. I'll begin with the land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of Three Fires, known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, March the 2nd, 2026. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? Seeing none, if one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. Item 5, we do not have any additions or deletions to the agenda, so we'll move on to our health and safety message. This message demonstrates the town's commitment to safety to staff and our residents. It is intended to raise awareness of potential risks, promote safe practices, and help prevent injuries, illnesses, and fatalities. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. International Women's Day is March the 8th, 2026. The beginnings of International Women's Day can be traced back to the early 20th century. It emerged from activities of labor movements and reflected a growing call for women's equal participation in society. International Women's Day first took place on March 19th, 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland, when over 1 million people attended rallies to show their support for women's rights to work, vote, hold public office, and live free of discrimination. The United Nations recognized 1975 as International Women's Year and began celebrating March 8th as International Women's Day. Today, International Women's Day is a day of unity, celebration, reflection, advocacy, and action, and is marked in many countries worldwide, including Canada. Some ways to get involved are to share stories of women making a difference in your community, school, or workplace. Take action to support gender equality in your everyday life. Support women-led initiatives, challenge stereotypes, promote fairness and understanding. And learn about some inspiring Canadian women in the history of gender equality in Canada. And some examples online are Women of Impact in Canada online gallery, Women in Canadian History, a timeline, gender equality timeline, and heritage minutes videos.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. All right, so item 7 is delegations, and today we have Grey County here as a delegation. We have Randy Schertzer, the CAO, and Niall Lobley, Deputy CAO, plus a few representatives. Welcome.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for including this matter on your agenda today. As noted, my name is Randy Schertzer. I'm CEO for Grey County. Helping me present today is Niall Lobley, our Deputy CEO. In addition to Niall and myself, we're joined today by county staff who are here to help to answer any questions that council may have with respect to the proposed road transfers. We have Pat Hoy, Director of Transportation Services, Sharon Melville, Business Integration Manager, Trevor Ireton, Construction Manager, and Sean Anthony, Maintenance Manager. So we are here today to provide an update on the road transfers project, highlight next steps, and to answer any questions that you may have. If the chair is agreeable, we would recommend that we walk through the full presentation first and then open up for any questions at the end, because many of the questions that may be top of mind to this council may be answered as we go through the presentation, but we're happy to take those questions for sure. So today's presentation is intended to provide clear, practical information to council and the public about the proposed road transfers that affect the town of Hanover. We'll cover the why behind the project, the principles used to determine what should be transferred, the progress made to date, the funding model, the transition work that needs to occur, and working out those details with the municipalities, as well as talking about the proposed transfer dates. The goal of this project is improving the overall Grey County road network, and more specifically, addressing the competing roles and functions of county roads within urban areas. As identified by the most recent Transportation Master Plan, as well as the actions that were previously approved by council and have now been incorporated as part of the county official plan, a task force was established to review the county road network with a focus on improving the system, including how roads function inside settlement areas. The review resulted in 2 core network improvement principles. One is that roads serving through traffic and regional functions should be transferred to the county, what we refer to as the uploads. And then roads serving primarily a local function should be transferred to the local municipality, what we refer to as the downloads. The key message is simple: align roads with their intended function. Right road, right owner. And I do want to emphasize that this is not a new concept created in isolation. This is a county-wide multi-year initiative that's been reviewed publicly. It's done in partnership with member municipalities back through the Transportation Master Plan process, the Recolor Grey process, which was the county official plan review process, and ultimately culminating today through the task force process that's occurred over the last 2 to 3 years. So this slide reinforces the why. In one line, we are aligning road ownership with the intended function of the road. In practice, that means putting local roads under local control, where community-specific decisions can be made quickly and clearly, and ensuring the community network focuses on regional connectivity and through movement across Grey County. So Grey County maintains a network of approximately 870 kilometers of roads, and most of that network, about 85% of it, is rural. The remainder is what we call urban or semi-urban roads. In urban settings, Grey County often maintains roads what we call curb to curb, while the local municipality maintains all the underground infrastructure, things like water mains and sewer mains, and above ground infrastructure like sidewalks and street lighting. That split responsibility requires ongoing coordination of operations, budgets, and capital plans. The challenge is that when the 2 tiers are responsible for different parts of road sections, it can create duplication and delays, and it becomes harder for either tier to operate efficiently. It also creates public confusion about who is responsible for what, and it can constrain local councils in the areas that residents most often expect their local government to control, things such as speed limits, parking bylaws, and other community level traffic and curbside decisions. The county's priority is maintaining its road network, is keeping connectivity between communities via regional and provincial corridors. At times, that conflicts with member municipal priorities, which are primarily focused on being responsive to local community needs, supporting local economic development, and coordinating road corridors with service-related infrastructure like water and wastewater and storm sewer systems. Appropriate road authority provides the local municipality with greater flexibility and ability to meet local needs in areas such as construction coordination, entrance permits, utility placement, pedestrians and cyclists, local maintenance in summer and winter, right-of-way issues, speed limits, and parking. And we've heard directly through some of these previous discussions with municipalities that local municipalities want responsiveness and clarity of accountability are key priorities when it comes to operating and maintaining roads. So the project is designed to improve those outcomes by reducing some of that overlap and aligning authority with function. This slide just summarizes the benefits that come with local management of road sections within settlement areas. Again, timely response to issues, better understanding of local needs, stronger community engagement, more cost-effective budgeting for local priorities, adaptability to local conditions, and greater accountability. When one level of government has clear responsibility for the corridor, it becomes easier to plan, budget, and deliver work, and residents have a clear line of sight to who is accountable. In summary, maintaining local roads offers a range of benefits, from increased responsiveness to community needs, to more efficient budgeting and reduce economic impacts within the community. Local control allows municipalities to choose how best to approach road maintenance in a way that reflects the unique needs and characteristics of each community, including, in this case, the town of Hanover. On the rural side, we've seen that some rural roads now have higher volumes and are increasingly used as bypass routes. Higher volumes and different driver habits, including heavy goods traffic, can require different service levels. In those cases, adding strategic rural roads to the regional network can provide county-wide benefits. They can support trucking routes around communities. They can support tourism traffic flow, taking non-local traffic off local roads, and supporting the efficient movement of goods across the county. Local municipalities may not always have the same resources to manage higher volume regional roads, and those resources often exist at the county level. This slide reinforces that aligning strategic rural roads with the county network improves regional connectivity. The intent is to ensure that the county road network performs as a connected regional system, while local municipal systems remain focused on serving local travel patterns, local land uses, and local community priorities. The road transfer approach in both urban and rural contexts is guided by a consistent set of principles, and those you can see on the screen here. First one is aligning role control and authority with the appropriate road authority, empowering member municipalities to respond to local priorities, reducing duplication and using tax dollars more efficiently, ensuring funding follows the roads, and supporting sustainable maintenance and service levels over time. This is what we call funds follow function principle is important. The county is proposing transition funding that is tied to the proportional asset values being transferred. This first map, so these maps show the urban road transfers that are being proposed. And the maps are included so that council and the public can see clearly what segments are proposed and where the limits are located. So for Hanover, the roads proposed for transfer include a section of Grey Road 10, a section of Grey Road 4, and a section of Grey Road 28. This map shows, the map on the screen shows a section of Grey Road 10 proposed to be transferred, which is a section running from the south settlement boundary of Hanover, located approximately 920 meters south of 2nd Street. The section of road runs 4.3 kilometers to Grey Road 28. The second map shows the proposed road transfer section of Grey Road 4 that runs from the west edge of Hanover, located 350 meters west of 3rd Avenue. The section of roads runs 3.9 kilometers to the current east settlement boundary of Hanover. That's located 1 kilometer east of 24th Avenue. A portion of this road section would be shared with West Grey, which could change in length pending the decision of the restructuring order that we're all anticipating. And we are happy to have further discussions with Hanover and West Grey when the minister does approve that restructuring order. This third map shows the proposed road transfer section of Grey Road 28 that runs from the current south settlement boundary of Hanover. That's located approximately 80 meters south of 10th Street. That section of road runs 4.2 kilometers north to concession 2 NDR, then west to County Road 10. Again, that portion of this road would be also shared with West Grey, which could also change pending the restructuring order. These road segments function within the settlement area and interface directly with municipal infrastructure and community level priorities, which is why they are proposed for local ownership, again, under the right road, right owner approach. Some of the key activities to date, and I'll caveat this with, there's been some previous activities dating back to the Transportation Master Plan days, a lot of public engagement as a result of that. The Transportation Master Plan identified some of these as potential action items. County Council supported those action items back in 2015. Those were incorporated as part of the county official plan back through the Recolor Grey process a few years ago. And now this is the task force work that I'll describe here in terms of the activities to date. So the Roads Exchange Task Force was formed in February 2023. It includes representation from all 9 member municipalities. There have been 8 open meetings with minutes reviewed publicly through Committee of the Whole and then approved by Council. Combined, there have been about 24 council meetings over the past 4 years where road exchange work was discussed as part of those meetings. In addition to formal meetings, staff have met with municipal staff as well as council members to discuss exchanges, negotiate maintenance contracts where needed, and share details of the funding model. In terms of public engagement, that has been a key component of this work as well. In 2025, staff hosted a series of public open houses on the road exchanges. Transportation staff hosted 7 drop-in public information sessions and received feedback from attendees. Questions raised included road name changes, road maintenance, and future road reconstruction. Letters were sent directly to residents whose addresses would be changed, inviting questions and participation in those open houses. And information was also promoted online and through local media. The county has also maintained a dedicated webpage with details that has been updated regularly. A public comment form is included within that webpage and still it's active today. So if there's members of the public that are listening and want to still provide comments, you can go onto our website and provide your comments directly through there. And we'll, of course, those comments have been reviewed as part of the task force process throughout the engagement process. I'll now turn it over to Niall to start talking about some of the financial details as it relates to the proposed transfers.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, members of council. Thank you ever so much. As Randy said, CO Schertzer said, I'm Niall Lobley. I'm the Deputy CAO at Grey County, and I have the pleasure of working with the transportation team. And I'm going to be taking you through some of the financial side of the road transfer proposal that you see before you today. So starting at the highest level, the county owns and operates about 900 kilometers of road, and the valuation of that road, according to our 2023 asset management plan, is around about $1.3 billion. We're proposing in 2026 to spend about $22 million on capital works associated to that asset, which represents about 2%. So that's 2% reinvestment this year into that asset. So about 2 cents on every dollar of the replacement cost of that asset will be spent this year as part of the transportation team's capital works program. That means if you do your simple maths, that means on average, you're looking at a total investment equal to the replacement value of the assets over the course of 50 to 60 years. Some assets will have shorter lifespans, others will have much longer lifespans, but on average, that's what the numbers that we invest each year mean in terms of the transportation road asset value. That's the starting point for the formula and the model that we've used to propose for the transition funding for the road transfers. So we have a 10-year capital plan, as do many municipalities, and that 10-year capital plan is done on the best guess of what is needed, the best science of what is needed, and the best guess of what is going to change in terms of community over time. So our asset management plan lays out principles which allow for and guide the investment and reinvestment into our road infrastructure. Those help to prioritize projects on a long list. We then try to get through that list as much as we can with the budget that County Council allocates to us each year. So those asset management principles prioritize the projects. County Council sets the budget. We do as many projects on that list as we can in any one given year. Because of the nature of municipal funding, there is a little bit of stability to that. So we're able to predict roughly what projects will occur in what years. And as you get closer to the current year, our predictions about what projects are going to be able to be done in any particular year get a little bit more refined. And so we also are able to work further in terms of doing detailed cost estimates. So as a project gets closer and closer to current year, the cost certainty around it grows, the amount of engineering background work and all the studies that are required to implement projects are undertaken. We don't have projects in year 10 which are fully designed and engineered and have all the background study and indeed have a reserved fund for that. We do that as they get closer into the 1 to 3 year horizon. In any one given year, as council makes decisions around budget priorities in a year, some projects will get done as planned in the upcoming year. Other projects may be beyond the capital envelope that we have availability to, and then they will get deferred. That process of deferral and prioritization once again draws on the priorities of the asset management plan. We've been trying to try and work out how to graphically try to represent what is going to change in terms of budgeting and how we're proposing to fund the transition, the transfers for a number of weeks now, and this is the best we've come up with. And so the road snake shows what we've got in terms of money. So like all municipalities, we should start with the fact that we do not have enough money. So we are prepared to give you what we've got, which we know is not enough. And that's because, as with most municipalities in Ontario, our asset management plans are not fully funded, and we do not have the money that's needed to do the work that's in 10 years. We're banking on the fact that by the time we get to year 9, the money that will appear magically in year 10, and so we will go on. So there is an unfunded section of the road, but beyond the unfunded section of our asset, there's around about $20 million a year, which our transportation services have within their capital plan. We're predicting taking about $2 million of that, it's about $2.3 million in essence, and putting that to one side to help fund for the next 10 years the transfer payments to member municipalities as a result of downloading roads to them. At the same time as downloading roads, we are, as a county, uploading certain roads, and we don't know the full condition of those roads at this point in time. We don't know what their needs will be, but we do know that we're uploading roads which have currently been maintained and looked after by member municipalities and are now serving a county function. So we will have different policies that apply to them, different standards that apply to them, so they will need investment. That investment is now part of that underfunded section of the road snake in front of you. Over coming years, County Council and staff will be working together to slot in, again, based on the priorities in our asset management plan, that work within the envelope that we have from County Council. But the $2.3 million, which grows over time, which is set to one side to support the road transfer, is there. As I say, we know we're not fully funded. The intent behind this is to make sure everything that we have got and everything that we predict that we will get over the next 10 years as a result of our capital asset management planning is transitioned with the roads to the municipalities that will be looking after the roads over that timeline. This is a little bit of a slide as to how that $20-odd million of funding happens each year at the county. So our Transportation Capital Fund is made up of about $13 million of levy funding, and it's topped up from 2 government funding streams, which member municipalities have access to, the CCBF, the former gas tax funds. We allocate about $3.3 million towards the program from there, and the OCIF funding, where we allocate about $3.8 million of funding. So that those funds come together. They fund the annual Transportation Capital Plan of about $20 million this year. We're predicting in 2027 a 6.57% increase that was seen by County Council as we went through budget planning. County Council only approves the budget on a 1-year timeline, so although they've seen that, it is yet to be confirmed. And so the numbers that we share on the following slides are based on an assumption that County Council endorses that 6.57%. And so the numbers do shift, and I'm going to try and explain why they move over time. So if we now look at what that looks like for Hanover, if we look at the very top row to start with, which is Grey County as an overall slice of the pie. So we look after, as I say, just under 900. So 870 kilometers of road is looked after or thereabouts by the county. 49 kilometers is currently urban, 66 is semi-urban, and then the balance is the rural. So the vast majority of our asset is rural roads, which are the regional connectors. If we now jump to the bottom right-hand corner of the slide where you'll see those prices per kilometer, those prices per kilometer are the replacement value of the assets based on our asset management plan. And so you'll see that urban roads have a higher replacement value because of the complexities of working within the urban environment, whereas rural roads have a lower per kilometer value. Those two pieces are key because if we now look at the town of Hanover, and the line that's outlined in red there, you'll see that there's 5.57 kilometers of urban, 1.41 of semi-urban, and some rural roads in there to a total of 10.44 kilometers. Based on the numbers in the bottom right, that gives you a replacement cost of 27 million, which is about 19% of what we're anticipating to transfer over. And so that 19% is key as we go to the next slide, because you'll see that 19% is at the very top of the Hanover column identified in red. So the funds that are being transitioned to member municipalities that are receiving roads, Hanover, the town of Hanover will receive 19.14% of those, which is reflective of the asset management value proportional to the capital plan that we have at the county each year. That then flows down in each successive year. You'll see the difference in 2026 and 2036, and that's because the road transfers are currently anticipated to take place midway through 2026, so the funding would be prorated in 2026. But Task Force and County Council are clear this is a 10-year program, and so to complete the 10 years, there's a 2036, which is the balance of that prorated funding in 2036. The number over each year, we recognize that, again, recognizing that that 2027 number is predicated on the 6.57% budget increase that we predicted. So that 2027 number is based on that. The numbers that follow after 2027 are then inflated by 2% per year, which is what we use in our 10-year capital plan for an inflationary measure, and then an additional 2.55% each year, and that 2.55% is our asset management levy. And so the numbers go up by those two percentages each year, and they are compounded across the balance. So that's why the number goes up and up and up across the balance of the 10-year forecast, so that we are providing you both the money that we anticipate having in 2027, but then are inflating it each year after that time. Obviously, these numbers are subject to council ratification each year because they're proportional to the overall capital budget. So if our capital budget grows at a greater rate than that 4.55% essentially, or at a lesser rate than that, then the numbers change correspondingly because the model is based off the asset replacement value and the proportional amount of our capital funds that we have available. So this slide, which is the same slide that all the municipalities, Hanover is famous because we're using your slide for all the municipalities we're going to, which has confused many of them, but will not confuse this audience this evening. So for Hanover, we worked the numbers out just simply to demonstrate what the changes that would have. So this slide articulates what happens across the 10-year if there is a 1% change in the positive sense or a 1% change in the negative sense to the county's budgets across the 10-year. So as County Council sets the budget each year, the numbers do change, but those numbers are going to remain proportional to the model that we put in place, which are proportional to the capital amount, the amount of capital that we have each year. So just to summarize the funding, municipal funding will change year to year based on the county's capital budget for transportation services. Our funding is currently made up of the three sources. CCBF and OCIF will become lesser for us. Those are particularly the OCIF is driven in part by our asset management plan submitted to the province. And so as our asset management plan starts to reflect the fact that these roads that we're downloading are no longer part of our portfolio and the roads that we're uploading are, then our OCIF contribution is likely to see some change. Likewise, that's something that member municipalities that are receiving roads or uploading roads will be able to see change over time as well. So as our funding levels change, there are corresponding impacts on the transition funding, but the model and that inflationary increase is embedded within that. Again, the bottom bullet there is just a reminder that the number in 2036, which is much lower, is the prorated balance of the 2026 number. As the CAO mentioned, there has been some significant timeline to this process, which extends back over multiple years and includes much consultation. Indeed, I believe this council has had opportunity to talk to staff before this timeline in respect to the road transfers. So this really is the most recent timeline over the last few weeks. So on February the 5th, the Urban Roads Task Force, or the task force, the Road Exchange Task Force met at Grey County and made a number of recommendations to move forward with the road transfer process, with transfer dates being targeted for July 6th and the end of October in 2026. Those recommendations went to County Council on the 12th of February, and on the 12th of February, Committee of the Whole and Council decided to defer the recommendations coming out from the task force to allow for staff to do a final round of each of the 9 member municipalities to explain the road transfer process once again, receive further comment and feedback. That further comment and feedback will be captured in a staff report, which we will be taking back to County Council on March the 26th. March the 26th, County Council are going to be receiving and revisiting the recommendations of that February 5th task force. So assuming that they are not changed, or if they are changed in such a way as it remains the intent that the task force had on February the 5th, we anticipate the road transfers will be committed to by bylaw in May, and then they will take place over 2 dates. The first date being the 6th of July for most municipalities, and then October the 29th will be for the balance, including some roads here, as a result of construction contracts which the county is undertaking through the balance of this year. Alongside of the actual transfer itself, we will have an agreement, and the agreement, which is with your municipality at this point in time, articulates the roads that are coming over, has some legalese at the front end of it, which is probably very exciting, but the really important parts are actually the 3 schedules at the back end. So there was a template agreement which has been endorsed by Task Force and is sitting in front of County Council at this point in time. We've now populated this with details for each one of the 9 member municipalities. So there's 9 unique agreements sitting with the 9 member municipalities. Schedule A has the legal description of the identified roads. That's the part here, part there, this pin, that pin, and the X, Y, and Z. So that's the detailed legal description of the sections of roads that are coming. Schedule B is a fairly short schedule, but articulates the amount of money that we're anticipating coming through the model and flowing through to the member municipalities. And then Schedule C is the maintenance agreement for municipalities that wish to continue having maintenance services provided by the County Council, such as winter maintenance, which we're offering at a cost recovery basis for municipalities that so desire it. Really, the hard work starts after the March the 26th report, because this has really all been planning. So for a decade or more of planning, there will then be a short flurry of activity, which is the implementation of the road transfers. So assuming that on March the 26th, we proceed to the next phase of the transition, we will continue to work with municipal staff and councils to finish the agreements. The agreements are in draft. They're for your review, for your comment and feedback, and we'll finish those off after March the 26th at some point. We're then going to switch into a very key focus on supporting residents and communities as we go through the transition. There's about 300 properties which we've identified are going to be impacted by this. They live on a county road now, which will become an urban road, or they live on a municipal road, municipal street, which will become a county road in the future. Of that 300, a small number, much smaller number, will see their addresses change. Many residents that live on a county road now already have a municipal street address rather than having a Grey County road address. But there are those that live on a concession or a side road that will now have a county street name, road name. And there are some that will live on a county road and are addressed on a county road, which will be switching to a municipal street address rather than that. So there are address changes, and there's a lot of work that goes behind those address changes. So we'll be working with residents to help them through changing their documents to reflect new addresses. And there will be a hotline which we will have available at the county and staffed at the county to provide advice on a one-to-one basis. If residents need us to go to their houses to help with address changes, we're more than happy to do that. One of the things we did here through the PICs was some interesting examples of where address changing can be quite complex. So those that own cattle, each ear tag of a cow is addressed, and so each ear tag, each cow needs to have a new address assigned to it as well. So we recognise that there are some bodies of work that are required for businesses and residents, and county staff will be supporting that throughout. Not to forget, there's another really quite large thing happening this year, which requires addresses, and that's the elections in October. We've already had some positive conversations with Elections Ontario, and we believe that transition can be made with minimal impact to the clerks. So we think we've got you solved, but that does create a bit of a timeline to make sure that the election rolls are with municipalities and correctly addressed in September. And then there's the ones after the election has occurred. We also need to do quite a lot of operational work. So it's really key that on one day, and the day has to be known well in advance, the post office, emergency dispatchers, and everything else like that know that addresses change on that day. And it can only happen on one day because it can't be that Bell thinks your address has changed the week before 911 dispatch does. So we have to do all of that on one particular day. We also need to change all the signs over on one day. And so there's going to be a whole body of work to make sure every intersection is re-signed, and that all the agencies that need to know about addresses are informed of when the change will occur. There's also the exchange of information. So we have already exchanged some information with staff, but there's decades worth of information we have on some of these roads, and we're anticipating receiving decades worth of high quality information from our member municipalities in regards to the roads that are being uploaded. And so we need to set up those file folders to make sure that we're able to give you everything that we know about our roads, where we have agreements with particular landowners for things, the history of when the roads were treated and surfaced, and the arrangements we have for the various different service providers that might be along there. Traffic bylaws will need to be updated and exchanged between the county and member municipalities to make sure that speed zones and everything else like that work in the right way. So there's a significant amount of administration that happens behind the scenes on this one. And then, of course, we have to update GIS mapping systems, talk to Google, and all of those other fun things that is needed in terms of changing over addresses. So as I draw to a conclusion, two key dates in our future. I'm going to add the March the 26th date into this one. So March the 26th, it goes back to council. We're anticipating at this point July 6th being the transfer date for the first suite of roads, and then October the 29th being the second date because of the construction season. So in conclusion, before we'll quite happily accept questions and take questions, the road exchanges are designed to better align road ownership with the intended function of roads to make sure the right road jurisdiction road authority has control of over those roads. The urban transfers are intended to try and improve efficiency, responsiveness to local needs, and making sure that communities can be cared for by the appropriate level of government. The rural transfers will allow the county to enhance the regional connectivity of our road network to support tourism, trade, and the various different other things that occur on a regional level. We continue to support municipalities with a planned transition fund over the next 10 years to support the download of the urban roads. And we will continue to work with municipal staff right the way through the transition. That's over the next few weeks in terms of looking at the agreements. It will be over coming months in terms of making sure we download the right information. And it will be in coming years in making sure that where there are those odd eccentricities around property, we iron those ones out as well. And we extend our help and support to communities and residents that are going to be affected primarily through address changes. And that's a service which we will continue to offer, again, with local municipalities and dovetailed with you. You'll know what we know, and it will be one of those calls that you'll be able to pass on straight away to the county to help support your residents through. And with that, I will turn the microphone back to you, Your Worship, and thank you very much.
Thank you, both of you, for that. So, all right, open the floor for comments, questions, discussion. Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Your Worship. Great presentation, gentlemen. My question is are bridges included in this changeover?
So through you, Your Worship, thank you for the question. Yes and no. So I'll answer generically at the top level. Yes, bridges are included, and so where they fall on a county road which is being downloaded, the bridge would be being downloaded as well, and that's included within the funding model. But in a unique situation just here, not all the bridges will go because many of the bridges remain on town lines and municipal lands. They will be boundary bridges.
So to clarify, there's only one bridge being downloaded. That's on the northern part on Grey County Road 28. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Randy. Now, great job. I guess my question still lies around, it's going to be a big change, and there's a lot of unknowns as far as what impact it's going to have on our ability to cover all the costs with this. I really appreciate the transition payments that have been calculated. I think it's been well thought out and looks to encompass most of the anticipated costs. It still remains in the agreement. I look at the section of 7th Ave North there where we have Bruce County on one side and Grey County on, well, it'll be Hanover once the transition takes place. But who's going to maintain that relationship with Bruce County for those maintenance issues and things of that nature?
There you go.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah, that was pretty early in our talks with Hanover that was brought up, and we had said at that point that any agreement with Bruce and Grey, the things that were kind of thrown off just because of the border of Hanover or the agreements that were changed, we would still continue to make an agreement with Bruce and Grey for winter maintenance. So Hanover wouldn't have to make an agreement with Brockton, for example, or some of those kind of strange, just a one-off kind of weird winter maintenance contract. We would still continue to kind of divide the Grey Bruce line as we've always done on behalf of yourselves, and Bruce would continue to do the same. So that's kind of where we're at on the maintenance.
So that would apply to any future construction projects and not just the ongoing winter maintenance and summer maintenance, but if that section road needs to be rebuilt at some point in time, where does that lie?
Through you, Chair, I'll try to answer this. And then so I think what Pat was indicating was more with respect to the maintenance perspectives. On the construction side of things, that would have to be worked out through some further details with whatever neighboring municipality you might be working with in situations where we've identified where right now a road is maybe a boundary road between West Grey and Hanover. You'd be working with that municipality to identify any of those construction needs and working with those municipalities on those projects as they arise in terms of construction needs. I don't know if anyone has anything further on that.
Sorry, all I would say was the construction is, like, when I think of that section we did on 7th Avenue years ago with Bruce County, and we split with Bruce County from 28 down to the bridge, and then, you know, the other section south that we did by ourselves. In this case, if that job were to be redone again, say, like, that section south of the bridge would be Hanover's by itself, and really technically north of that it would be a split project in construction between Hanover and Bruce County, which we haven't really talked too much about, but that's kind of the way it would be as far as we know right now. So I don't think we would get involved in a construction project where the road was Hanover and Bruce. But I guess for winter maintenance, if we agreed to keep doing the winter maintenance, we would have to do that on your behalf. But the construction is kind of a new wrinkle that we'll have another look at that too. Sure.
Okay, thank you. The other train of thought I'm on here is with the, you know, we're assuming and we now will be responsible for things we have no real experience in, like traffic signalized lights or intersections and all of those good things. And just for the viewing public who might be listening, I believe that will be part of the agreements, is that we will be able to step into the current agreements. And I believe it's City of Owen Sound that actually does signal, it has the contract for signal lights, and we would be eligible to step into that. Whereas where the county has it now, we would be able to do that. So it's not something we need to bring in expertise into our own staffing. The same with, you know, it's a different classification of road, and, you know, the winter maintenance requirements are different. So all of that will be handled in a contract with the agreement that each municipality is going to have. That's, I guess, to be worked out yet, but you know, for the listening public, I think it's important to know that it's not just a road, it's traffic lights, there's a lot of things involved here.
Through you, Chair, I've always described this as a bit of an onion, and as you pull back some of the layers, you expose a bit more layers, and some of the layers that Councillor Dickert indicated, or Deputy Mayor Dickert has indicated with respect to some of those layers. So yes, those will be discussed further with the maintenance, winter maintenance side is actually part of the Schedule C that Niall noted earlier. So some of those details have already been drafted, and Niall indicated we shared that with municipal staff last week, some of those details as well. Happy to have further discussions with municipal staff and this council as to those details. As it relates to the traffic control signals, you're correct, Deputy Mayor Dickert. That's a contract that we have currently through the City of Owen Sound, and we would anticipate like that contract would continue, and we'd be happy to again work through those details with municipal staff and councils to make sure that those transition pieces would still be respected, and those traffic controls in this case would be maintained. Lots of other pieces, of course, again, we're happy to work with staff through those details to be able to, as we move forward through these transition phases, so that we have those contracts and ensuring that those different assets along those road sections are maintained accordingly. Don't know if anyone has anything further. Otherwise, I'll pass it back.
Thank you, CAO.
Just, I will just share that staff are intending to bring back a further report to council at our March 16th meeting, where we'll detail some of those preliminary numbers, for lack of a better word, with respect to contracting or having the county still maintain those aspects. So the county is one option, but there is the option that we can seek prices from others should that be our direction. I don't know, Andrew, if you want to share anything else.
Through your worship, no, not really. I mean, we were back and forth. The staff bring a report before the county came, or do we do it after? So decided the county would come and provide the pitch, and we'll follow up with a further report.
While we're talking about 7th Avenue, what about the lights at the 10-4 junction? That is Brockton, West Gray, and Hanover. Whose lights will they be?
Great question, Mayor. We might have to get back to you on those details in terms of that piece. And again, we're happy to work with staff on helping to move through that. Sounds like the staff report that will be coming forward to help answer any questions that you may have that we're not able to answer today, and provide that information back to your staff so they can report that through your future staff report.
That's good. Thank you. I do have some questions, but I'm going to go around. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation. Certainly, I'm not convinced that this is a good deal for Hanover. I think I said that to Pat at our public open house. I think it's an added expense for local municipalities that will have to end up bearing the cost of this in perpetuity. Essentially, you're transferring 10 kilometers of roadway, which is more high traffic than our current road system, and leaving us with the maintenance and the upkeep, along with traffic signals and other additional costs, while only giving us transfer payments for 10 years. And really the total of that is less than 20% of the replacement value in present day. So I understand that your asset management plan is not fully funded. Neither is ours. And we don't have anybody to download our expenses to other than the ratepayer. So I appreciate that you're saying it makes sense from a planning perspective. I don't think it makes sense from a town of Hanover perspective. I think if there are issues with access to roads, we work through those. I really see it as a downloading from the county to the local municipality, but that certainly is my perspective on it. And I do look forward to seeing the additional costs. And I'm also hoping that we can get some capital forecasts in terms of the state of the roads and kind of where you would see the maintenance requirements going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Cable. Anyone else at this? Councillor Hocking.
Yes, Randy, I'm just interested in the 300 residents who we're going to experience a lot of changes. Have you had a good influx of online responses, or is it just periodically interest? I'm just interested in the response because there's big changes for them.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Hocking. With respect to, I don't know the exact numbers in terms of the online responses, but I know that through the public engagement process, we did send out letters directly to those landowners who would be potentially impacted by these address changes. So just so they're aware of the public process, can come out to the public information sessions, can contact us if they had any questions. I know folks have reached out to us directly, whether it's through via phone, via email, asking some of those questions. Some also attended the public information centers, and we were able to answer their questions at that time. As Niall indicated earlier, we are committed to providing a concierge type service to make sure that we're providing supports to navigate some of those address changes, because it can be a bit of a process for folks to go through that. And we want to make sure that we're providing those supports where we can to residents and businesses to make sure it's as smooth of a transition as possible for those address changes.
This is just a scenario. Assume that we want to put an advanced green on a set of lights. What would the process be? Do we just do it, or do we have to go through highway traffic? Or could you just explain that, please?
Through you, Mayor. Again, great question. If the road transfers were to occur, that is, I think, a good example of the decisions that would be in front of then local council and your local staff to make in terms of whether or not an advanced green or whatever it might be needs to be activated at any of your intersections. Right now, as it currently stands, for those county road sections, you'd be contacting the county. We would look at that in terms of where it is in terms of priority for all of our county roads currently. And at some point, we probably would try to work with the municipality to advance that. But that is a great example of what would be completely in the local control and local authority if these road sections were to be transferred. Among some other things that we also get involved with in terms of speed limit reduction requests, parking bylaw matters, construction activities. As noted, sometimes a municipality may require a water main or sewer main that needs to be replaced, but our road surface that we look after is in decent enough condition. So the timing may not be right in terms of those construction projects. Again, that will be under the full local authority of one road authority to be able to make decisions as it relates to your overall capital infrastructure assets in that road corridor. And so that's some of the benefits we see as part of this. One road authority having local control over to be able to respond to some of those community needs. We recognize that there is an impact, and Councillor Cable has noted that. And so with that, our task force and council has proposed this urban transition fund to help to support that. We're again happy to have any further conversations with staff and council about some of that funding model and whether or not there's specific requests coming from councils for us to take another look at, or county council in this case, to take another look at that funding model. We're happy to have those conversations.
Okay, thank you. Online, we have Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Randy and Niall, for your presentation. I agree with Councillor Cable. I think, this is going to come to a cost for our taxpayers. And, by the road transfer, it comes to a cost to the municipality, I feel. I think that going forward, are we looking at more equipment? Are we looking at hiring more people? We just can't keep downloading this onto our taxpayers. And, when it comes to new road construction, do we apply for funding through the province, or do we apply through the county? Like right now, some of my tax dollars are going to the county, and you guys are receiving tax dollars from the province or from the government. And I think going forward over the next 10 years, it's going to be hard to keep going back to our taxpayers and asking for more funding.
Thank you, Councillor Fleet. Okay, I have a couple of comments in no particular order. When you mentioned the transportation budget that may change from year to year, your budget is a lot larger than our budget. So if our budget changes, that means a lot to us. So if it's going to change every year, how do we forecast? Like, we don't have another pot of money to go back to. So that's a comment. The funding model and replacement value, did you include the 4 lanes that are in Hanover, or just 2 lanes?
Through you, Mayor, for the second question there, staff are saying that the 4 lanes were accounted for as part of that. Again, happy to have further discussions and review with local staff with respect to those pieces. As it relates to your first question, again, happy to take any further feedback from councils. This is the second presentation that we've had with all 9 member municipalities over the next few days. We are anticipating any further questions and comments that we receive through those discussions. I know folks have made notes today of some of the questions and comments that have been raised, some that we weren't able to answer, and we'll get back to you on. Other comments that we'll summarize as part of that to report back to the March 22nd County Council meeting that Niall indicated earlier. Through those conversations, whether there's different direction that's provided by County Council with respect to some of those comments and the feedback we've received, that'll be up to County Council, obviously, in terms of that. But we will be happy to summarize and take any comments and feedback with respect to that. And what I'm hearing is the concern about the fluctuating numbers and the certainty then in terms of trying to budget accordingly for your budgets and what impact that looks like and how can we try to mitigate some of that. So we've taken those notes, but I encourage you, whether it's through the staff report that staff indicated earlier that we'll be coming back through, any further comments and questions that you have, please provide those to us. We're hoping that by March 18th at the latest, just because our reports usually go out to council the week prior. So that'll give us at least a day or two to try to take that feedback and incorporate it into a report and then provide some responses. So it doesn't give us a lot of time, but that's kind of the date we're hoping that we'll get some further comments and feedback from all the municipalities beyond what we've already received today. And but we do appreciate all these comments and questions, and we're happy to have further discussions for sure to make sure that we quote get this right.
So once we do receive our report, like funding is the issue. We know that. The length of the agreement is probably also like right up there, priority 2. And my other comment is, tell me about the development charges. And do you have some money that you can help that when we need to put in signalized lights at 14th and 28, when we have all our development happening and it's on the horizon, how much does a set of lights cost? We have no idea.
I can start off by the development charges, but I don't know what it costs a light is. So I will probably refer back to my colleagues behind me on that one. As it relates to the development charges, so previous discussions with the task force identified the focus was primarily on the urban transition funding model. And so that's being funded from a variety of pots of money, we'll say, to provide some of that transition funding pieces. As it relates to the development charges piece, again, we're hearing some comments about that from municipalities. We're happy to have some further discussions with county council with respect to that. So again, if you have those comments as part of your coming staff report or just what you've raised today, we've noted that. We anticipate we'll receive that from other municipalities as questions as well. We're hoping then to provide that, again, summary in that March 26 report, and then hopefully be able to unpack some potential options for county council's consideration. So I would encourage you to raise that as part of your comments and feedback back to county council.
And did you get a ballpark figure?
It's about 400,000 to you. The only thing I would perhaps add to the CAO's response there is DCs are obviously driven by background studies. So any roads that are transferred would be fully able to be included within a Hanover development charge. So any development that occurs, you have the ability to be able to respond to that through DC, and we'd be more than happy to support with developing those cost estimates if needed.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to staff. If there's any further comments, questions before that report is brought back to us.
Through you, Mayor Sue, Randy or Niall, if you can just provide some context. And I know, Niall, you talked about the upload of the rural roads and just that we don't have any of those in our complement of roads. And there was no consideration for that upload piece within the funding model. Can you provide some context to council with respect to that?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, CEO Walden. With respect to what I'll call the uploads, there are several sections within the overall road system that would be proposed to be uploaded to the county. A number of those would be in exchange for another road section. So I think I've got the list here. I try to go by memory, so don't quote me on all these things, but there's 4 I'll call sections of roads that would be part of the rural road uploads, so to speak. So Grey Road 14, there would be a section that would be transferred to Southgate. That's currently Grey Road 14. and we would upload a section of Side Road 11, I believe it is. Gray Road, 32? What's the 25, Gray Road 25 and Bentick Sullivan Town Line. So there would be almost a straight exchange for the total length of road. That would be part of that exchange. Gray Road 9, sections of Gray Road 9 for Concession Road 12 in West Gray. And then there's Concession 5 and 6 in Georgian Bluffs and Chatsworth. That would be part of those, what I'll call uploads. But like I said, there's a number there that would be in exchange as well. So there's 3 that will involve some sort of exchange. Section 5 and 6, there's also a small section of Gray Road 40 that goes through the village of Chatsworth that is also going to be proposed to be transferred to the township of Chatsworth. And it's a small little section. It's called McNabb Street in the village of Chatsworth. As part of that, staff have done a high-level estimate of what the needs will be in order to upgrade those sections of roads over a period of time. And we think that's a long period of time. There will be some probably immediate needs that staff have identified that would be required to be upgraded on those sections that would be uploaded to the county. But when we go back to the Transportation Master Plan, these sections were identified in order to look at, when you look at the overall network from a regional perspective and not just an isolation of Grey County, but when you look at where the Bruce County road sections are, or Wellington sections are, or Dufferin or Simcoe, that is why there's recommendations about doing these exchanges, because overall it would support a better overall connectivity from a regional road network perspective. And so that's why those are recommended to be uploaded or exchanged in some cases between the county and the member municipalities. Like I said, there are going to be some requirements for those sections of road, and those will be funded through the envelopes that were discussed earlier by Niall. As we start to unpack that, if the road transfers were to occur, staff will of course do some further detailed reviews of what actually would be required as part of those road sections.
Okay, so I have one more question. Tanya, I need you to go back to the slide that's titled Budget Impacts to Transfer Funding. Unfortunately, I don't think I have oh, wait, sorry. This was before. Thanks, 26 in our package. Thank you. So you mentioned about 2% increase based on inflation, I believe. That's we know that construction is higher than 2%, gentlemen. So maybe that's one of the comments you may be hearing from others about that maybe needs to be considered. Just broad level.
So through you, Madam Mayor, great question. And it's not often I get to be on this side of the mic complaining about 2%. But you're right. I do want to just reiterate, it's actually 4.55% is the base, because it's the 2% inflation and then it's the 2.55% asset management levy that the county holds. So the numbers are actually inflated each year by both of those two things, because that's the base point of our budgeting process before county council each year. So that's the base point that we put in here. Anything that comes in above that has an upward impact on the county's transportation capital, and so would have an upward impact on these numbers, which would then correlate across the 10-year pros. Basically creates a new year one to build from, and anything that would see those numbers shrink would be a negative impact. But yes, I hear your pain. In a municipal world of 2% and 3% budgets, when construction inflation is running at much higher numbers than that, I feel and see your pain.
Anything further? Sherry? No? Okay, final comments, questions? None online? Thank you very much for attending and sharing all this information, and you can hopefully make this work. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move on to item 8. And this is council minutes, 8.1, the regular council meeting minutes from February 17th. I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor, Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Cable. Just a couple of comments I have from those. You'll remember that afternoon we had the chair of the Blue Water chapter of the Ontario Building Officials Association, Tara Davis. She was in attendance to present Andrew Wilkin, who is our Director of Development and Infrastructure, also our Chief Building Official, with the Eugene McAdam Award. This award is presented to a member who exhibits outstanding service and commitment to the profession and chapter. Congratulations again, Andrew. Also, we received the Hanover Business Retention and Expansion Study, the 2026 survey report. And I'll ask if there's any comments or questions with those minutes. Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We do not have any business arising from the minutes, so we'll go on to the consent agenda. And I will ask if there are any items in this consent agenda that you wish to be discussed separately. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a couple of questions on 10.1 that I would like to ask.
Okay, so we'll pull that one. So I need a mover and seconder for the Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm also hoping that I can pull 10.2 to provide an overview.
Okay, so that leaves 10.3 and 10.4 on the consent agenda. I need a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Hawking and Councillor Hudson, all in favor? That is carried. So 10.1, I need a mover and seconder. Councillor Hudson and Councillor Cable. I'll let you ask your question, or do you want to highlight first? Okay. Oh,
So it is on, actually, the question is just regarding the open and responsible government portion. It is 5.1E. So the question, the action was to introduce a succinct and readable post-council decision report, print, social media, website for broad audience. And I think that was made very clear at some of the meetings that we had. Now, I know we have done pre-council information, but not so much of the post-council, which I think at the time was people wanting to know certain things if they were able to read it in their local paper, if they weren't able to, source electronic capabilities.
Sherry?
Thank you. Through you, Sue. You're correct. We've got the pre figured out. I would say the post is through minutes available on our website, because they are available to the public on our website. Perhaps Vicky can provide an overview of when those are usually available. And with our communications and community engagement staff members starting, that may be an opportunity to include some social media items as well with respect to that. But maybe through you, Mayor Sue, Vicky can indicate usually when the minutes are available on the website following the meeting.
Typically, through your worship, typically the minutes are posted within a week of when the council meeting occurs. We had developed a preliminary social media post-meeting report. Time constraints haven't really allowed us to implement that fully yet. As CAO Walden mentioned, we are hoping with the new communications staff person that will be implemented very soon.
So my concern is still with some of our senior residents who aren't all social media savvy. And I know in past years, they were very appreciative of seeing results from council meetings in the Hanover Post. I do know that the person who was primarily responsible for doing that, is no longer, but is that something that we can send to the Post in order to have it put in? I know you had your ABCs, that was good information. People really liked that. Just not so sure we want to do 100% that we have followed up on this particular section when we really have not.
Andrew, did you have your hand up? No? Oh, sorry.
Halfway, I wasn't sure if I wanted to say it. I maybe shouldn't say this at a council meeting either, but it's sometimes quite difficult to deal with the Post in the paper and with the timing to get it posted. And it's a fairly significant expense. It's a couple $100 to get it posted, you know, for it to go out every couple weeks. Just from my interactions with them, which was part of the reason our planning public meetings, the notice no longer goes into the Post, it getting missed or the expense of it. So that was just a comment from somebody that maybe should have stayed out of the topic altogether.
Okay. Sherry, you want to follow up?
Well, I was just going to suggest we can certainly inquire with the Post whether but again, usually the media would pick up, like previously when the media would report on council meetings, it's because they had staff, as you noted, who would pick up those pieces that they felt were reportable accordingly. Certainly we can reach out to their staff member and see if that's something they can enhance and see what the response is.
I do think it's important that people are informed because there's no longer council meetings being broadcast on Whiteman. And that's where a lot of people that don't have this capability were watching as well, so they would know things. So without that and without any social media, they're kind of left in the dark.
Vicky?
Through you, Your Worship, we do share our council agendas with local media. They're sent out by email to the local stations and to the email that we did have for the Post. And we used to send our link for the meetings to Whiteman so that they could broadcast it. I would have to confirm whether we are still doing that or whether they are still broadcasting them. No, they are not. Okay.
We always welcome people to come in person, so you can encourage them to come in person.
And just to be clear, the ABCs, that was new this year, and I don't know, we didn't get a lot of feedback on that. I got some, not a lot. And I do the quarterly briefs, and there'll be another one coming out in April. And I think that's it. Oh, the top 10. So that's what comes out of the mayor's office. So, Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Worship. I was glad that Councillor Hudson brought this one up because certainly it was one that I had also flagged. I think I was imagining as a post council decision report, something that's perhaps a little bit more lengthy than our minutes would be, because often they're very succinct, but still something that would be readable for the public. So I do hope that we can adjust that one so it's not missed. I think with it being at 100%, I think we might not go back to it. So I'm hoping that we can take a look at that with the communication person on board. I'm also curious about 5.1C. It says it's 100% complete to have virtual options for residents to participate in all town committee meetings. Certainly, I know at Parks and Rec, I haven't seen us use the OWL to allow for public to join the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. So just wondering kind of where our current thoughts are at in terms of that option.
Thank you, through your worship. So we did purchase the OWL for the purpose of every advisory committee being able to share a link so that the public could participate. I can't speak to why that is not being done at the committee level, but everyone has been apprised that that option is available. The OWL is at the office for sign out and what the process is. So that option is definitely available.
So I guess, Your Worship, could we send that back to the senior management team to take a look at kind of what the logistics are in terms of that? Like if it was identified as a goal that we were providing it for all town committee meetings, then we need to come up with a system for that to actually take place. Also wondering if, I assume it would be Andrew, but if you could just comment on it's goal 2.1C. I know that organic waste collection is something that certainly comes up in discussion with residents quite frequently. In minutes that are coming further in the package, it talks about how there's going to be collection at the Hanover Walkerton landfill for Walkerton. Wondering if we can kind of discuss a little bit about the Grey County Waste Regionalization RFP and whether that, I guess, where we're at in terms of whether organics waste might be coming in the future.
Through your worship, Deputy Mayor, was that discussed at the Waste Management Committee at all last meeting? I wasn't able to attend, and I don't know if that would be the most recent update there.
It was, excuse me, it was touched on, and the organics collection system for the landfill site here it's in that application process. It's not approved to be there yet because we need to get approval from the province before we can install something like that. And it would only be available to the residents of Brockton at that point in time. Further to that, if you've likely read the minutes, we are looking at it from a Grey County perspective, looking at a county-wide waste management study, and organics would likely be part of that at that point in time. So it would be premature for us to go out at this point in time as the town if the county is, because I think the county is spending about $250,000 on this study. So it would be premature for us to try and do something ahead of that study, bringing back their direction.
Other comments? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Working on goal 2, healthy and welcoming community. Just a little question regarding 2.1A. One of the actions was to establish an environmental advisory committee. And I know that we have done events regarding environment, but we really have not done a committee to provide recommendations to council to consider practical actions to promote the stewardship, conservation, and enhancement of the town's natural environment. Now, we have checked that off as 100% complete spring of 2024. And I know that there are conversations with some of the different groups. However, just wondering if we want to relook at perhaps establishing an environmental advisory committee at this time.
So as has been shared before and as noted in the third bullet under the comments, is that in January 2025, we discussed at senior management team about how we are best to approach this and what was most effective from both a staff and a committee perspective. And the environmental piece crosses so many different advisory committees and involves so many different facets that it was deemed at that time that it was best and most efficient use of our committee input and our staff time to build that into the Planning Advisory, PRC Advisory, and Economic Tourism Cultural Development Advisory Committee. And then at management team, we also have environmental, if there's things that we need to be cooperatively working on. So as staff, we feel this is still the most efficient way to deal with this. If council felt that they need to establish another committee of council outside of staff direction, then I'd suggest a notice of motion accordingly.
Councillor Cable.
I guess as a follow-up, Your Worship, I did notice, I think it was in this report or in another report from this meeting, it talks about how the Environmental Advisory Committee may look at things, that the committees that are looking at environmental issues might look at things such as a tree canopy, and a reference that might fall under Parks, Rec, and Culture, and it might also fall under Public Works, things like that. I guess I'm wondering, have we established through the management team that environmental considerations is a standing item on all of these committee agendas? Because certainly to this point in time, Parks and Rec Advisory has not talked about anything specifically related to an environmental initiative outside of, we know that we do our cleanup and things like that. But I think if we could have that standing item, then we would know that that's a specific focus. And perhaps at every meeting, there wouldn't necessarily be something, but the tree canopy is an idea that would be great to discuss.
And you're correct, tree canopy crosses various staff departments and number of different staff would be involved. The intent was that that be included. MPRC advisory has been dealing a lot with the active transportation and the East End Trail, which is an environmental piece, active transportation, right? So it may not be specifically embedded as a title, but you've been dealing with a number of things, or at least that as a key project, as an environmental initiative.
Go ahead, Andrew.
And just further to that, Plan Advisory Committee, for example, environmental considerations is a standing item. It's in all the agendas. There's only been so many updates. There's been a few articles included. For minor variances, typically we don't talk about the environmental considerations specifically, although I've been a part of some of the meetings, we have talked, are trees going to remain, or instances like that. Zoning bylaws specific, we do include in the agenda item that environmental considerations are they to be discussed for that specific item as well. So we've been trying to capture it. I will also note that as the OP update proceeds, a lot of those environmental considerations will be included in the official plan update and will be a point of discussion in the public meeting process for that.
Other comments, questions? I'll call the question. All in favor of, this is report CAO 0526, and it was the strategic plan progress update. All in favor? Sorry, go ahead.
I guess I just still have a question. The points that Councillors Cable and Hudson brought forward about not marking them as 100%, I'm just not clear whether that's being implemented or what's happening here.
So I will revise the post council one. I forget which one that was. 21. I made note of that. 21. The post council report. That was an error on my part. I will correct that. With respect to, that's the only one that I've heard identified.
I think, Your Worship, there was another one that was marked 100% for
The owl.
the owl.
But we've got the process in place and it is available. We just need to remind staff.
I guess if I was
So-
that it's available, then I would assume that if I went on to the town meeting calendar for every meeting, if I want to join into the police station build, I can click on the link and I would join at 10 a.m. If I want to click on the Parks and Rec Advisory, I could go on at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, click there, and I would be able to join, right? Any resident would be able to do that.
That would be correct. And as we said, we've got the processes in place. We just need to enforce with staff that, or refresh staff's memory that that needs to be part of their agenda development accordingly.
All in favor? 1, 2. And Councillor Fleet is in favor, and so am I. That's carried. Item 10.2, Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes. Mover and seconder to receive, Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just hoping to highlight what happened at the Committee of Adjustment meeting so that residents are aware. The Committee of Adjustment met on February the 18th to review 2 connected applications. One was for a minor variance and the other one was for a consent application to sever a piece of land. The purpose was to sever that land in order to construct a 4-unit, 2-story apartment building. It's going to be across from Heritage Square on 11th Street. The minor variance sought relief from the side yard and rear yard setbacks in order to allow the building to sit far enough back on the lot that there will be adequate parking on site at the front. And after a good discussion, the committee granted both of those applications. So as that works through the kind of finalization process, we should see construction start on that lot across from Heritage Square.
Any comments? All in favor? And Councillor Fleet is in favor. That is carried. Thank you. Item 11 is staff reports requiring action. We have 11.1, which is report PW 0526. The subject is the 2025 Drinking Water System Summary Report. It's from Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Development and Infrastructure and CBO. I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Hudson and Councillor Fleet. Andrew?
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, Ted Knapp, our chief operator, is on the call, and I think he's going to highlight this report for me. Ted?
Thank you. This is the drinking water summary report. The report PW-05-26 2025 drinking water summary report be received. The council acknowledged the receipt of this report as required under section 22 of Ontario Regulation 170-03, and that this report would be available at the municipal office. The background, schedule 22 of the Ontario Drinking Water Regulation requires that a summary report for the period of January 1st to January 31st be prepared annually and provided to the owner of the drinking water system by March 31st of the following year. The summary report provides specific details related to regulatory compliance capacity of the town's drinking water system. I have prepared this report and it's attached. Quarterly operation reports are presented to the council throughout the year. During the 2025, the town's drinking water system supplied 1,476,422 cubic meters with 1,313 cubic meters treated and delivered to the distribution system. Water supply contributions for the year were as follows. Rural Lake was about 46.7%, well 1 was 27.9%, and well 2 was 25.4%. Average daily flows remain within the approved system capacity through the year, even during peak summer demand, July and August, with maximum daily flows range between 40 and 46% of the rated capacity. That being said, our treatment system typically can only be operated at 60 to 65% of the maximum rated capacity due to issues with piping and design issues. The highest demand period during the summer months, in particular July and August, which are typically due to seasonal water increases. 2025 water loss estimations have been calculated and included in the annual report. The comparison between total water supply, total treated and distributed water reflects system losses, which include unmetered uses, operational flushing, fire flows, and minor distribution leakage. We continue to monitor and do leak detection efforts to remain part of the town's asset management strategy. Microbiological testing throughout 2025 confirmed continued compliance with provincial drinking water standards. All routine sampling met all regulatory requirements. Quarterly in-plant laboratory analysis was completed as required to monitor operational parameters and treatment performances. Trihalomethanes and haloacidic acids annual averages for 2025 were monitored in accordance with the Ontario Drinking Water Standards. Report values remain within allowable limits. The 2025 drinking water system summary will be made available at the municipal office for public viewing, and I think it's also available online. The link to the strategic plan is safe and reliable infrastructure and open and responsible government. I would be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ted. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know if this is an Andrew or a Ted question. I'm just wondering if we are able to do a follow-up on the metered water use that we will have ongoing each year for the splash pad. I understand it's metered, and so would we be able to have any sort of idea what's going through there, since we determined which system we would select? So just curious if that's something that could be reported on.
Sorry,
I can take this. We do read the meter. I think it's bi-monthly, like every other month. We can definitely record it and report on it if you need.
Thanks, Ted.
Okay, any other questions? So Ted, I have a question about the unaccounted water, and I realize these are estimates and pipes do break and hydrant flushing is necessary. Can you just expand on that a little bit? Because normally we're 10% or under.
So we're getting a lot better with our estimates, particularly with flushing. We did some math on it this year to get how much water we use flushing a little bit more accurate. I think it's gone. I think last year we estimated like 30,000 cubes, and I think this year we're at 13,000, which is pretty much, I think, more online what we actually are using. That being said, our unaccounted for water will increase very, very small every year. We do have a lot of older household meters. Most of our meters are between, I don't know, 15 years to 25, maybe even older than 25. As meters age, specifically those old mechanical meters, they're not as accurate. They read a little lower than they're supposed to. They drop approximately 0.3 to 0.5% in accuracy every year. So if you have a 20-year-old meter, it's reading low by 10%. So that will help, well, that kind of causes us to have higher unaccounted for water. If that kind of explains it.
Yes, it does. Thank you. So either you, Ted, or Andrew, when do we plan on replacing these meters? Is it in the forecast? When do we plan?
Ted, I can take this through your worship. Yeah, in 2026, in the budget summary for water, we noted we were looking at a hardware software upgrade as ours is coming towards an end of life. So we're working on it right now, what that looks like. Some other municipalities around us the last few years have done a metering update. Could be a meter, could be a box reader update. So we're kind of looking at all those possibilities to come back to council to what that scope would look like. So it's a 2027, 2028 agenda item with the research being done currently.
Thank you. So until we have the new meters, we will have unaccounted water. And then when we have the new meters, we will have, I don't want to say more accurate, we will have accurate readings. So I know some municipalities around us went through this, and some of the residents thought they were being overcharged, but they were being charged for what they were using. So we will have the same thing when the meters come in. So we'll have to do an education promotion about this, that the meters will be accurately registering. They're accurate now, but they're not. They're under registering, put it that way. So, yes. So, okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor of report PW 0526. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Councillor Fleet is in favor, so that is carried. Thank you. Item 11.2 is report PB 0526. The subject is the subdivision agreement for Giorgio Lucia. It's from Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Development and Infrastructure and CBO. I need a mover and seconder for this, Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Hawking. Andrew?
Thank you, Your Worship. This one's been on the docket far longer than I've been a part of the municipality. So this one's nice to bring to council. The Giorgio Lucia subdivision applies to lands legally described as Part Lot 18, Plan 55 within the town of Hanover. The location is just south of the hydro lands in the northwest corner of town. On October 22nd, 2018, a draft plan of subdivision was received and approved by the County of Grey. What I have done is the last few years, 2022, 23, 24, and 25, been in front of this council for an extension of the subdivision agreement as the developer worked towards meeting the conditions of that draft approval. Earlier in 2025, the applicant went before county council and completed a minor red line revision of the subdivision, the draft plan subdivision. That was to update the lands as there were some consents completed to provide abutting landowners some property in 2024 to get rid of some lands that didn't have any use to the developer or the town. The subdivision agreement that is before council today is for 67 single-family dwelling lots 1 to 67, two fairly significant townhouse blocks that run along the northern and east portion of the plan. They're noted as blocks 73 and 75 in the plan. And the proposal is that this subdivision be completed in 3 phases, 1 through 3. 1 being fairly minor, 2 and 3 happening post, and the new ring road, we'll call it, with access off of 7th Ave, being completed at the time of phase 2 of the plan of subdivision before you today. Dale Robbins Consulting Inc. has been the prime consultant for the owner as a part of this project. All lands, easements, parkland dedication to be conveyed to the town as identified within this agreement, and our understanding as works are scheduled to begin this calendar year. All draft conditions have been incorporated in the agreement, which is in final form before you today. Following the execution of this agreement, a clearance letter is provided by the town of Hanover to outline how all the conditions of the draft agreement are being met, which we will provide to the county, and they will require from us prior to finalizing the agreement. In the package, I won't go through it too much. There's a few blocks. Block 74 is a small little portion on the east end of town. It has been identified for trails, and ultimately it would extend to the east and at some point tie into the trail network on that end of town. It would be subject to some other developments to occur around there. There has been regard for that, however. Page 126 of the package denotes the sidewalks. There's been some discussion on sidewalks in subdivisions in the past. Every street does have a sidewalk on one side of the road in the subdivision before you. The financial implications within here, while there are not directly financial implications, the development and servicing costs are the responsibility of the owner. The agreement does provide for the owner to pay $3,000 per residential unit building fee to help support the cost of construction for the new access point off 7th Ave into the adjacent ring road that ultimately would service our North Industrial lands in future. In addition to that, the owner is required to pay 50% of land acquisition costs with respect to lands that had to be purchased from Hydro One to gain that access point, which was completed on our behalf in 2024, I believe. If I can make one comment in one revision within the agreement, on page 138 of the package at the top of Schedule H to the plan of subdivision, it's been brought to my attention that condition 1, essentially Schedule H is a carbon copy of the conditions that the county puts on a plan of subdivision. So we are just mirroring those conditions as well as mirroring the red line conditions that were completed in 2025. Item 1, I have May 15th, 2029. That was supposed to read May 15th, 2019, which was the date of the original one. I'll have to update the year on that amendment. Beyond that, the recommendation is that report PB 0526 subdivision agreement for Giorgio Lucia Whispering Meadows plan of subdivision be received, and that council pass bylaw 3381-26 to authorize the execution of subdivision agreement with Giorgio Lucia for the plan of subdivision for Whispering Meadows. And I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Andrew. Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Your Worship. Long time coming, Andrew. I'm interested, how many units in those townhouse blocks total?
Well, each unit has, or each building has 8 units in them. They're proposed to be stacked townhouses. So they're groups of 4, 4 ground level, 4 on the upper floor. When they did their zoning bylaw, they proposed 3-story towns in there. I think there's a count in the conditions, but I can confirm that to you, Councillor. Before the end of the meeting, I can probably confirm that.
Councillor Cable?
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Andrew, for the report. It's really good to see the subdivision, come to fruition after many years. And I was really pleased to see the inclusion of sidewalks and also the condition around tree planting. So there'll be a tree in every front yard and then a tree in every backyard if the trees are removed. So I think that's an excellent step forward for us. Just wondering, could you provide clarification? There's one of the addendums that talks about Block 67. And I know that we've talked about this before, but can you clarify around the noise mitigation and barrier wall? What exactly is being constructed there?
Yes, through your worship. As part of this agreement, the developer was required to undergo a noise mitigation study based on its location to the hydrolands to the north. And as a part of that, there was a noise barrier that has to be installed on that lot. Specifically, it's 3 meters high. And I believe is required to be out of concrete. Typically, you see a decorative type of concrete that almost looks like block. When the zoning was completed in 2024, 2023, there's a specific note in there to that as well. So it is written right in the zoning that there's a requirement on that block to allow for noise mitigation.
Excellent, thank you. And if I can just seek one more piece of clarification. I know the agreement talks about this $3,000 per unit. Is that only until 50% of the land and road connection costs are paid, or we get $3,000 for every unit until they're all sold?
Through your worship, I anticipate we will be getting $3,000 per unit until they're all sold. It is written though that as part of the original conditions in 2019, that is $3,000 up into a maximum of 50% of the road construction, understanding that construction is just 50% to cover from 7th Ave to 8th Ave, that new entry point, not anything extended beyond that. But based on the cost estimates and the $3,000, prorated, I think it'll be fairly accurate that hopefully they align nicely, that 3,000 times 98 units or whatever's there would work out to be right around that 50% mark for us.
Excellent, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Andrew. You mentioned that there is an allowance there for one of those blocks that might become part of a walking trail. Is there any allowance for funds to go towards the construction of that?
Through your worship, the trail yourself on Block 74. The developer would put the trail in for us. That's short block. We're only talking maybe 50, 60 feet or whatever that may be, which would get us to the backside of the development. And then there is no park as part of the parkland dedication on this plan of subdivision. So the funds as parkland dedication would go towards hopefully redevelopment of the trail in future as it were to expand the network.
Anything else? Any comments, questions? All right, I will call the question. All in favor of PB 0526. Councillor Fleet is in favor. In favor, that is carried. Thank you. All right, item 11.3, we're on page 143 of the package. This is report ED 0726. The subject is the Cultural Roundtable Subcommittee Notice of Motion Follow-up. It's from April Marshall, our Economic Development Manager. I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Hocking and Councillor Cable. April.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is in follow-up to Councillor Hocking's notice of motion to consider appointing a council representative or reinstating the Cultural Roundtable as a direct committee of council. So just to provide a little bit of background, in 2019, the town of Hanover established its cultural roundtable. And one of the first a cultural plan. And one of the first recommendations was to establish a cultural roundtable committee of council, which then transpired in 2020. We did start off with very strong membership in the early years. There was a lot of excitement for sure around the cultural roundtable and the opportunity that presented. Furthering that, some notable projects that the Cultural Roundtable has supported and facilitated is Music in the Square Summer Concert Series, securing grant funding to construct the band shell in Heritage Square as well as the Pride benches. We've established a cultural map to identify or highlight all of our cultural assets. We work on public art initiatives such as Downtown Street Banner Project and mural upgrades and creation. We do cultural days programming. We administer the Event Development Fund. We've researched cultural center concepts and research reviews. We've partnered with some of our Saugeen region partners that also have roundtables to work on some joint initiatives. We've established the HIP culture as a campaign or the brand around our initiatives. And most recently, we've joined the Driftscape app, which has brought some of our heritage storytelling to life and are able to have audio tours around the community so people can better access those. In the most recent council term as well, we were asked as staff to find efficiencies in administration. So at that time, we took a look at the structure of not only the Economic Development Committee, but also the Cultural Roundtable and Heritage. And we found an opportunity to broaden the Economic Development Committee to be Economic, Tourism, and Cultural Development Advisory Committee. And at that time, we then made the Cultural Roundtable and Heritage Committee subcommittees of that. That flow has been really good in the sense that we're able to have appointees from Heritage and the Cultural Roundtable sit on the broader Economic, Tourism, Cultural Advisory Committee, and therefore we're able to better flow some information and updates and keep all of those initiatives enhance the synergy between all of those initiatives to broaden our scope and strategic direction as far as those are concerned. So with that, though, we did take a council representative off of those subcommittees at that time. So just following up, just considering all of that and the latest notice of motion, it is staff's recommendation at this time that we continue to have that flow between the committees up to that broader committee, but also recognize the opportunity and the visibility that will be brought back to culture by establishing a council representative on that committee. So the recommendation coming out of this is that report ED 0726 Cultural Roundtable Subcommittee Notice of Motion Follow-up be received, and that the Cultural Roundtable Subcommittee remain with the existing Economic, Tourism, and Cultural Development Advisory Committee structure, maintaining the established committee model to support efficiency, collaboration, and alignment across culture, tourism, heritage, and economic development, and that the Cultural Roundtable Subcommittee terms of reference be amended to include the appointment of a council representative to strengthen two-way communication, reinforce Hanover's council's commitment to cultural development, and provide a direct link to ETC, DAC, and council decision-making. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, April. I do have, Councillor Sackle has asked me to speak on her behalf, but I will open it up to Councillor Hocking first, as it was your notice of motion follow-up.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks for your report, April. And I like the compromise. I like the fact that the subcommittee structure stays within the Economic Development Advisory, because it does make some sense that that we could have the initiative through that committee. And I'm really glad that we have a councillor back on the committee. When we first started, we had, as you said, it was full of enthusiasm and excitement. And it's been sad to me to see the cultural roundtable diminish in numbers. I think with this new motion, the subcommittee should feel a reboot and get more people involved on the cultural roundtable because it's absolutely essential that we have a wide diversity of cultural interests on this committee. So I'm thoroughly pleased that with this report, and I'm pleased that Council Sackle has indicated her support of it, that I guess her worship's going to read in a minute. But thank you for the report. And I support it.
Thank you, Councillor Hocking. I better read this. As Councillor Sackle is not able to attend this meeting, she has asked that I speak on her behalf. She is willing to put her name forward as the council representative for this subcommittee. She has stated that she's been a member of this committee in the past and feels knowledgeable about the key goals and objectives of the committee. And now I'll open it up if there's any questions or comments, or if anyone else wishes to put their name forward for the committee. Councillor Hudson?
I will just ask a question. So Councillor Sackle has stated that she would like to take the one council position. And so if other people decide to throw their name in the hat, how does that work?
We will vote. Each person will indicate why they want to be on the committee, and then this council will show of hands whether they vote for or against that person. Councillor Cable?
Thank you, Worship. And is the idea that the Heritage Committee will stay in its current structure? There would be no one who's added to that committee.
That is correct.
Yes, through your worship, at this time, we're recommending that it stay as is. I have had preliminary discussions with Laura about that. So she will take that back to the members, and if they feel that they would also like a council representative appointed back on that committee, then we will address that individually.
I guess I'm wondering I'm sure staff will look at this as the term wraps up in the fall, but is the idea that the person who is the economic development, tourism, cultural advisory, is that correct? Representative, that they would almost be like an ex officio member of the committees that report to that committee going forward, right? Like in essence, Councillor Sackle could attend Heritage if she wants to. We can all attend it, but she could attend that, and she can also attend Cultural Roundtable, right? Because she sits on the committee that those funnel into.
Through your worship, yes, thank you. That's the way I view it, and that's the way I feel like we have been operating or putting that into practice. Councillor Sackle has been very, very good at being apprised of everything that's happening within those subcommittees as well. I know she delivers the minutes here to council as well, so I know she's actively following them and engaged in what is happening. But there's also been times that I've also reached out to her and asked her to participate in what we're doing, to have that council representation and to be more involved in what those subcommittees are doing. And she has been great to step up to do that.
So just to be clear, but if she attends pardon me, right, she won't be able to, if she attends the Heritage Committee, she would not be a voting member. She would just be attending as when we attend. Sorry, I can vote, but when council attends. So, Councillor Hocking?
So as it's established right now, Councillor Sackle is a representative on the Development and Tourism, blah, blah, blah committee. And April brings news from the subcommittee of the cultural, and Laura brings items from the heritage. But with this new setup, April won't have to worry about bringing minutes or items from the cultural committee. to the economic because Councillor Sacco will be a member attending all those meetings. The Heritage Committee will still remain the old format. However, as April mentioned, you're going to mention to Laura, and I guess if they would want a council rep, they're not going to get it. Is that right?
Sorry, Councillor Hawking, I think we need to just look at that process again.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So as it stands right now, Pat Butler is the representative of the Cultural Roundtable Subcommittee on the Economic Tourism Cultural
But she's
Development
not-
Advisory Committee. She's not a counselor, no, but I just want to confirm the reporting structure.
Okay.
And then Jason Ron, Jason Ron is the representative from Heritage Committee. So what happens is each of those subcommittee minutes are brought forward to the Economic Tourism Cultural Advisory Development Committee meetings. And then each of those representatives provide an update on their minutes and their committee activities, which is then captured within those overall Economic Tourism Cultural Development Advisory Committee minutes that then come to council.
So the council rep on the Cultural Roundtable will bring the highlights to the Economic Development and that committee.
Yes, between the council rep and we do have well, we can look at that if we still have the committee rep. I could talk to Pat Butler if she still has interest in being that representative, or if we would just want to leave that with council. That's something we would have to work out.
Okay. Clear as mud? I think you can work it all out. So does anyone want to put their name forward to sit on this committee besides Councillor Sacco?
Thanks for that explanation, April. I'm just rethinking this. See, I didn't realize that the cultural subcommittee was bringing information to, and you've only got 2 members on that committee right now, right? You've added a 3rd person.
On the Cultural Roundtable?
Yeah.
We just most recently got a library board appointee designated for the committee again. So now Kathy Maskell is that representative. And then, so we're back to 4 voting members on the Cultural Roundtable with staff support.
Well, I kind of feel awkward that now we're sort of got, I hate to use the word overkill, you know what I mean? Like we've already got a representative, and I just thought it wasn't receiving enough emphasis within the community, and that it needed a counselor. But in retrospect, if we've already got a committee member who reports to the economic development, do we really need a council rep? I was just thinking that we needed more, if I could use the word, influence to come back to the council table. But I certainly don't want to be sending a wrong message to the current setup that I wasn't pleased. I just didn't realize that that was the structure. So I apologize. And you know, if Susan could join it, but doesn't have to be she could just join it and not have a council representative. She couldn't. No. Okay, I think I've messed this right up, to be honest with you. I really have. You know, I'll take advice from anybody. Like if you,
Councillor
if you, April, you think it's worthwhile to have a counselor on a subcommittee, but then it's not on, you don't have the same thing on a heritage committee.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I don't want to insult one group and then another group, like.
Absolutely.
So I'll just take staff recommendation.
I'm going to welcome a council rep because I will tell you, having quorum has been a struggle because of the low membership at this time on the Cultural Roundtable. We have gone back and forth with that. We have promoted this opportunity with our cultural groups. We put it out to the public. We're trying to build the Cultural Roundtable as that collaboration network so that our groups can kind of get out of their silos a little bit and start to communicate a little bit more and work together more on initiatives. And as you saw in my report, having a cultural center in Hanover has been, I think, the biggest excitement for this group. When it came out of the cultural plan as a recommendation, and I honestly feel like maybe some people are just a little bit disheartened or maybe aren't seeing the value in contributing because maybe that big project that we're not able to get to yet isn't becoming a reality. So, but anyways, that's fine. Like we're working through it. We're doing great things. And I value the opportunity to bring this forward so that we can capture what we have been doing. But yes, as staff, we have been struggling a bit to keep the momentum going, keep people engaged, for them to get that return on investment that they're putting into it too. Because I also noted in the report, we have tried so many times to do some cultural days activities and things of that nature. And we have our cultural groups that are participating, but then if they don't see the return from the public, then that kind of sways them from wanting to do it further. You know what I mean? So we are in a bit of this state that we're trying. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg thing. You know what I mean? Like we want the public to participate, but we need the groups to participate as well. And as we know, volunteerism. The people that are volunteering are the most active, and I don't know if all of them necessarily want to take something else on. So, this is kind of what we've been dealing with the Cultural Roundtable, and that's why I do want to keep the recommendation of keeping it as a subcommittee to better build that synergy, using culture as an economic driver, all of those pieces. So, yes, if having a council rep brings that excitement back to our cultural groups, or they feel like their voice is better heard, then yeah, like that's a great thing. Because we did with the cultural plan, we did articulate our vision, right? And council did support that we would put a cultural lens on decision making. So if that does that, that's a great win for us.
Okay. I think I'll stay with my motion. I just want to say that when the cultural plan was approved, well, actually, it came out of the Economic Development Committee that we needed a cultural plan to really push tourism in our town. And it was an exciting group. We had a cultural roundtable from a lot of different areas, and it was a synergy. And April highlighted some of the early successes. And if Councillor Sackle can bring that enthusiasm, which I'm sure she's the one that can do it, I'm all in favor of the motion and her name going forward as the council representative on the Cultural Roundtable Subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hocking. Any other comments? Anyone else wishing to be a member? So I guess it's Councillor Sackle. And she did indicate in writing, so I accepted it. All right, I'll call the question. All in favor of ED 0726 with Councillor Sackle being appointed to the subcommittee? 1, 2, 3, and Councillor Fleet is in favor. It is carried. Thank you. Item 11.4, we're on page 148 of the package. This is report CL 0326. The subject is the mobile refreshment vendor bylaw. It's from Vicki McDonald, our Manager of Legislative Services and Clerk. I need a mover and seconder to put this on the floor. And I have Councillor Fleet and Deputy Mayor Dickert. Vicki?
Thank you, Your Worship. As a result of the food truck pilot project that we had successfully completed last year, we have looked at our food vendor bylaws and discovered that we've been operating under 3 outdated and overlapping bylaws, the refreshment vehicles, the street and outdoor vending, and the mobile canteen bylaw. This created confusion for vendors and staff. There was inconsistent terminology and enforcement challenges as well. So we opted to review each of these bylaws and create one consolidated new bylaw for food and refreshment vending in the town. The new bylaw provides updated and consistent definitions, harmonized licensing requirements for all vendor types, standardized safety and operational rules, strengthened enforcement mechanisms, and a reduced administrative burden and clear expectation for vendors, as well as an improved and more comprehensive licensing process. The application has been fully redesigned, and it requires enhanced documentation in terms of insurance, vehicle safety, and food handling. This was to reduce municipal risk and improve consistency in the administration of the licenses. So the license fee set out in the 2026 rates, fees, and charges bylaw will remain unchanged. A minor amendment will be required to the terminology in that bylaw so that it reflects a mobile refreshment vendor license as opposed to refreshment vehicle and a refreshment bicycle license. There were community and economic benefits identified, which included supporting the local economic development, encouraging small business innovation, creating employment opportunities, and it further activates and enhances public spaces and tourism and community engagement as well. And that is through the designated locations which we've identified on municipal property. Financial implications. It is anticipated that the 2026 fees are adequate to cover our administrative and enforcement costs. The fire department fees for inspections remain unchanged, and they are established in our rates, fees, and charges bylaw. And we will review in 2027 for the 2027 rates, fees, and charges bylaw if we require any adjustments to the licensing fees to cover our expenses for administration and enforcement. The strategic plan, the town goals which are supported are safe and reliable infrastructure, a healthy and welcoming community, a strong and vibrant economy, and open and responsible government. The recommendation. The recommendation is that report CL 0326 mobile refreshment vendor bylaw be received, that council adopt the mobile refreshment vendor bylaw number 3382-26 as presented, and that council endorse amending the 2026 rates, fees, and charges bylaw 3357-25 to reflect the updated terminology of the mobile refreshment vendor bylaw. And I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Vicki. Comments, questions? Okay, there you go. It's been moved by Councillor Fleet, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dickert. All in favor of CL 0326. And Councillor Fleet is in favor. That is carried. Thank you. Item 12 is committees of council minutes, and we have 2 sets of minutes. So I need a mover and seconder to, before those minutes are highlighted. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Hawking. And the first one, 12.1, is the Hanover Walkerton Waste Management Committee minutes. Deputy Mayor Dickert, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The February 10th meeting, the committee received an update on the recent repairs and the status of the CAT compactor. The unit is in relatively good condition with these repairs and should be good for the near term, but it is a little bit over 10 years old and will require replacement at some point in time. And just as a warning, they run in a neighborhood of $1 to $1.5 million for a unit like that. So it certainly needs to be included in budgeting plans. The committee was provided with clarification on the revenue that is provided by Circular Materials Ontario for the shared recycling depot at the landfill site. The shared facility is for the 870 multi-family units between Hanover and Walkerton, and that do not have curbside collection. CMO pays the town approximately $3,000 a month for this service, and it is for residential recycling only. It does not include industrial, commercial, institutional, and it also does not include residential units that receive curbside collection currently. For landfill quantities, 2025 saw a curbside volume reduction of 6.3% for Hanover and 3.3% for Walkerton. However, total volumes received were up by 13.6% because there was a significant increase in the commercial haulage coming in. We touched on the joint municipal services project being undertaken by Grey County, which we did talk about a little bit earlier tonight. There was an update on the process to allow the temporary organic waste storage facility to be located at that site. And this is just the environmental application at this point in time, still in the planning stages. And as far as Hanover taking any part in organics, we will likely be wise to wait and see what the Grey County study might identify as opportunities from a county-wide perspective. The styrofoam recycling trailer is no longer required as provincial program supplies by CMO now allows for styrofoam to be put into your blue bin cart. So the company that was coming around, the volumes are not there. They are no longer going to be doing that. If a commercial supply or commercial industry or commercial business has styrofoam they need to get rid of, they need to come up with an arrangement similar to with their own recycling of other materials. And they would have to have an agreement with this company to have it shipped to London or wherever they may have their site set up at that point in time. So that is a synopsis of the meeting. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try and answer them.
Thank you. Are there comments, questions? Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Worship. This might be something that staff may know or perhaps can provide clarification on. 4.2 talks about the recycling depot cost. And so we're receiving funding of $3,000 per month based on the number of multifamily units that can still use the recycling depot at the landfill. Just wondering if that's adequate so far based on the collection that's been going out. Are we tracking the volume that's still coming in and the costs for that collection?
We'll have to get back to you, Councillor Cable, on that one. I'm not aware. So what you're getting at is the $3,000 covering our costs of collection, basically? Is that your question in a nutshell?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I will have to look into that accordingly.
Any other comments or questions? We'll move on to the next one. 12.2, this is plus VG Architects. It's the Hanover Police Station minutes. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have two sets of minutes and a lot of the discussions were the same for both of them. But going to the February 3rd, the meeting summary, a lot of discussions were focused on a proposed screen wall. Chief Knoll asked if they could present a plan with a screen wall to disguise the Sallyport entrance. So there was a lot of discussion on that. They did bring up a very lovely looking piece. Public washroom security was brought up as well as the potential changes to the prisoner transport operations with the proposed reopening of the Walkerton jail. The suggestion is that they probably will not have as many Sallyport transport vehicles coming in and out of there. So the project is not targeting energy performance beyond the Ontario Building Code requirements. However, the council direction that we have provided is to ensure the building is future ready for potential upgrades. So that was a conversation had, as well as the generator. There was discussion about whether it would tap into the generator that provides for the Civic Center, but this will be 100% backup power for the police station only, and the Civic Center will remain on its own system. And the existing generator enclosure for the Civic Center will remain in place for now. There was discussion about furniture for the building, whether it would be looked at as purchasing locally or perhaps something else. So there was conversation about that as well. And as I mentioned, the architectural team presented a proposed screen wall concept near the Sallyport. And some of the issues were the matching materials, greenery, which then causes perhaps some security risks, and also about loss of parking spaces and the vehicle turning radius as well. So it has been determined that that will be a separate pricing for that, and then it can be decided upon later. The Sallyport, even though the prisoner transport vehicles arriving at the station may be fewer, it still is a required design feature that has to be adhered to. And the interior layout, number of cells will not change as well. As I mentioned, the costing of the screen wall is a separate item due to budget concerns. Some issues with public washroom is a key consideration, adequate lighting around the washroom, because this is on the northeast side. And consideration of mag locks, timer systems, et cetera, and also to be vandal resistant. Oh, and also another thing that took up a fair bit of discussion time was that the committee reviewed the proposed outdoor recovered property storage area that's intended for stolen property, larger items, bicycles, canoes, apparently, that sort of thing. And the planning staff advised that the storage cannot be considered part of the principal building, as it would encroach into the required south side yard setback and may trigger a minor variance. So it has to be treated as an accessory structure. So another concern was that being adjacent to the church building along the south property line, the impact on the existing church windows, and it shouldn't create a solid wall condition or worsening conditions along the property line. So the architectural team is reviewing alternative layout options for that. And then moving on to February the 17th, a lot of the things that have previously been mentioned were discussed again with the parking adjustments, the outdoor storage, screen wall. And that pretty much concluded all of that.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. Any comments or questions? Okay, that's the last set of minutes. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Dickert, seconded by Councillor Hawking, and the motion is to receive the information and approve the recommendations contained in the 2 sets of minutes that were just highlighted. All in favor? That is carried. Councillor Fleet has his hand up. So that is carried. Item 13 is bylaws. We have 2 bylaws at this time, and I need a mover and seconder before I ask the clerk for the intent of the bylaws. Councillor Cable and Councillor Fleet. Vicky?
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw number 3381-26 is a bylaw to authorize execution of a subdivision agreement. And bylaw number 3382-26 is a bylaw to regulate mobile refreshment vending in the town of Hanover.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Councillor Cable, seconded by Councillor Fleet, that bylaw numbers 3381-26 and 3382-26 be introduced and that they be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and inserted in the bylaw book. Is there any further questions? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. And Councillor Fleet has indicated he is in favor. Item 14, we do not have any correspondence requiring action. So I'll move on to notices of motion. Does anyone have a notice of motion? Okay, good news and celebrations. I'll open it up to Councillor Fleet. Do you have any good news and celebrations?
Not tonight, thank you.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the council chambers here. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to congratulate the Hanover Bentic and Brant for their fabulous building. We had an opportunity to be in there on Friday for a meeting and was very impressed with how it all looked and the lighting and the colors, and the kitchen was phenomenal. So kudos to them for pulling it all together and making a great event space.
I'll ask staff. Anything to, Councillor Cable?
My apologies, Your Worship. I'd like to congratulate Bruce Gray Mentorship on their coldest night of the year fundraising walk. They surpassed their $20,000 goal with over 16 teams taking part on Saturday evening, completing a 5-kilometer route. So it's great to see a lot of local residents taking part to support that great youth organization in Hanover. Also wanted to congratulate the municipality of West Grey on the completion of their new police station. I know a number of us were there on Saturday to attend the opening and the tour, and it was great to see what a modern police facility looks like and to speak with staff about some of the design logistics and considerations that went into their design. So certainly a big congratulations to them on the completion of that project.
Thank you. And I'm seeing there's nothing from staff. So we'll move on to item 17, upcoming committee meetings. The meeting dates are listed on this agenda and on our website. 2 changes. 17.7, the Hanover Public Library Board is meeting on Wednesday, March the 18th, rather than the 25th. And item 17.11, the Saugeen Mobility and Regional Transit Board, otherwise known as SMART, is meeting on Thursday, March the 19th. So important dates and announcements. Our next regular council meeting is Monday, March 16th at 4 p.m. And we do have a closed meeting, so I will ask for a mover and seconder that the Council of the Town of Hanover meet in closed session in order to discuss a matter pertaining to information belonging to the municipality that has monetary value with respect to a commercial development opportunity on municipally owned land. Mover and seconder, Councillor Cable and Councillor Hudson, all in favor? That is